Good evening and welcome to the November 10th regular meeting of the Hillsborough Town Board of Commissioners. The public charge is in the printed agenda and I won't read it now, but it has to do with decorum in our meetings. And next on our agenda are audience comments not related to the printed agenda. So we have quite a few people signed up. And so if you're here to discuss or talk about item 6A, that's on the agenda. So we're not going to hear from you now. So we have several people here to make comments about the flock cameras. And so we'll start with John. Gaina. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it.
We wait till the chief comes in?
He's
Just
oh,
he's
he's
the rest of
okay.
them, yeah, he'll
Yeah,
be here in.
come on up. We'll just wait for
60
Steve to
seconds.
come back so we can hear your comments. Okay, and then after John, we will hear from Brian Williams, and then Claire Spear, then Lush. Remember that? And then Freddie Bell, and then Jesse, and then sorry, maybe we have one more. Then Jen. So Jenny, you're late to the show. We're gonna talk about flock. We'll hear your comments first, and we're waiting on the chief to come back, and then so he wants to be here to hear that discussion. So bear with us just a minute. John, welcome. Stand in front of the microphone so we can hear you. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. I want to start by expressing my appreciation of the board, hearing our concerns about the flock video surveillance cameras or license plate reader cameras at a few previous meetings and taking action to cancel the contract. And I'd like to also continue to say that living in Hillsborough, one of the things I really appreciate about it is it's a town that feels like a place where you can really know each other. Like the block I live on, I know almost every one of my neighbors and interact with them regularly. There's a whole wider array of people that, walking their dogs, taking strolls, that I recognize them and know where they are and feel connected to them. And to me, that is what embodies community, but also safety, is when we have that sense of knowing each other and looking out for each other and taking care of each other. And so I hope that the board will continue to take this seriously and know that the community stands behind their decision, and also will not just see it as a means of just the flock issue, but also as video and that manner of surveillance and that conception of security versus, I think, what Hillsborough has in a lot of ways and should continue to lean into, which is the safety it has in the community of people here that know each other and look out for each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Brian.
Hello,
Welcome.
thank you. Yeah, I also want to thank y'all for listening to us last meeting and for making that decision. I know it can be a difficult thing to pass something like that and then listen to a bunch of people speak out against it, reassess it, and to go back and reassess how you feel about it. And so I appreciate y'all listening to us about that. That said, I know Flock is, if you've watched anything about Garrett Langley and how he approaches things, it sounds like he is gonna not give up on it so easily. I also have seen recently several like counties in North Carolina signing up for the ICE task force, which I don't expect that Hillsborough would do that, but I do think that it's something that we should put out there and say like, this is in advance, not something that we would ever want to do. And it doesn't align with Hillsborough's values. Also, I created these little handouts. I would love to just leave them with y'all. They have just a little bit of information about the different areas that have successfully canceled contracts with Block, and some places that are still fighting. Also, abuses that have been found, and just several other things. And there's citations for everything, you know, a lot of good links. And the last thing I wanted to say is that that wonderful document, the Comprehensive Sustainability Plan, it's only in a PDF form on the website. I couldn't find any other like accessible document. Maybe it exists. I would love to see it. If it doesn't, I took the whole plan and made it into a markdown file. So it's all just text and could be used in like a reader that, you know, like an audio speech to text. But I do think it would be good to make it more accessible. Anyway, I'm gonna, everyone, I'll give this to you and pass it around. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Claire Spear. Okay.
Hey everyone, you're doing well tonight. Just to give a little context about me. I grew up here on Old Hillsborough Road and went to Cedar Ridge High School, so I've been around for a while. And I do want to speak on this surveillance contract, but I want to step back and think about it from a broader perspective about the technology itself and how technology works and advances. Mayor Bell, I know that you have a tech background, so now you'll be picking up what I'm putting down. What is one universal feature of any technology that we handle? It's a software update. To put it into a familiar context, think about your phone. How many times do you get these update required notifications? You can ignore them for a while, but eventually you have to check an agreement box to continue using your advice. And the update, which you don't know what it contains unless you can dig through all the technical jargon, it just go ahead and it'll do what it does. Part of the problem with the system that's designed into the system is that we can't know what those updates contain, again, unless we're really fluent in technical jargon and a lot of the legalese that they put in there. So let's put that into context of this surveillance software. Mayor Bell, you say that Flock is now pitching a query use only system. And sure, let's say that they're willing to slide you that deal for today. But we know the software updates are coming. What happens when down the road they require a fee for this data privacy that they're offering you right now? Or what if they work in a data sharing agreement into a future software update that you have to agree to in order to continue doing what you want to do? How vigilant will you be in the protection of our data, our privacy, and our futures? We really just cannot trust tech companies with the future of our day-to-day lives. Even if the data is hypothetically protected from in-network searches like they're offering you, putting our lives into the hands of a giant corporation is a risk that's just not worth taking. Because as we know, once data is in the cloud, it exists there. It can be found. And as our technology advances, so do the tools used to hack those systems. And please understand that the national data networks being built by these public safety corporations will be consistently and aggressively targeted by cyber criminals. Just this morning, I opened up my email and I saw an email from Wallet Hub saying that 2 billion unique email addresses and 1.3 billion unique passwords across multiple malicious lists and online sources were found because they were published by cyber criminals. Stuff like this happens all the time. And the only way to really ensure our protection in this surveillance situation is by keeping us and our data completely out of it. And I just want to end with a couple of quotes from CEO Garrett Langley about his experience with public safety. In his own words, quote, "I've never had a real job before. I've never had a resume. I've never applied to an interview." He also talks about the company's experience, saying, "The majority of our employees have never had a gun. They've never carried a badge. We don't get shot at. We don't have to carry a gun. We don't work the night shifts. We're not going into dangerous situations. I sit behind a computer all day, and that's great." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lush.
Greetings, y'all. Well, Lush. I spoke at last month's meeting to share my concerns about the presence of automated license plate readers in Hillsborough and my own experience being targeted by existing surveillance technology in town. Weeks after, I was surprised and delighted to learn that the board had voted to terminate the contract with Flock. I also then learned that Flock has launched a pressure campaign in response. In an attempt to win back the contract, I've observed Flock representatives falsely claim Hillsborough will retain full control of all collected data, and I've witnessed them work to discredit very real public safety concerns in the process. I'm present at tonight's meeting to thank you for your principled decision and to ask that you remain steadfast as Flock works to convince you that our concerns and the realities of how Flock has already been used are illegitimate. Thank you for stopping another arm of the surveillance apparatus from reaching into our community. I hope this decision to prioritize privacy and freedom of movement is a sign of more care-centered decisions to come. Thank you.
Yeah. Freddie Bell. Welcome.
Thank you, and hello, my name is Freddie. I've lived here in Hillsborough since 2021. I want to acknowledge and express appreciation for your decision to cancel the contract with Flock and take down the cameras. This is a huge step in the right direction for our community, and I encourage you to hold your ground and maintain this decision despite pushback from Flock. While I'm pleased with this decision, I'm here to say we don't want surveillance of any type in our town. Don't be tempted to move from Flock to another problematic service. Surveillance of any kind is hugely disrespectful to your community members, denies our right to privacy, and treats us as criminals. AOPRs do nothing to prevent crime. Rather than invest in surveillance or the police department, we should be investing in social services like food and housing programs. When people's needs are met and crime is reduced, not by spying on and tracking your constituents. I trust you all to do the right thing to make your community feel safe and supported. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Jesse.
All right, what's up, y'all? Back again. Okay, so the news of the town canceling their contract with Flock is welcome, but we're hesitant to celebrate as the risk posed by Flock and other surveillance companies extend beyond the reach of our local law enforcement. Since we last spoke on this issue, they have partnered with Ring, who has also added facial recognition to their cameras to widen the scope of their surveillance capabilities and further limit our privacy. The openly stated goal of Flock, a private company, is to create a nationwide database of identifying factors of every citizen, weaving together extensive profiles based on biometric data, photos, videos, public records, searchable via AI, accessible to local and federal agencies to use our movements in the real world and online to predict our behavior and intent, creating suspicion and presumed criminality where it does not exist. Even without local police access, they can still install cameras on private property and collect data to that end. These camera systems and their accompanying AI search capabilities are already being used by law enforcement and ICE across the country despite Fourth Amendment rights violation. Errors are being made by tech, resulting in violence done by humans with no accountability to those harmed. Real-time crime centers are on the rise as police rush to hand over decision-making capabilities to machines, pre-criminalizing already marginalized communities based on racist historic crime data. Beyond the call for the community to be more informed and resist these growing infractions on our privacy and liberty, I want to remind police and lawmakers that your careers are no safer than ours, or no safer than those in any industry that is rushing to rely on machine learning tools. You're training your replacements, and your current position of power will offer you no extra protection when it pushes you out of a job and you become just as vulnerable to the hallucinations of AI as the rest of us. I urge you not to use this moment to just pivot to another company or return to Flock, as they undoubtedly put pressure on you to reconsider. Educate yourselves on the wider reaching harm of this technology and ongoing abuses. Focus on the human element of our communities and your role in serving us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And last, that I see, to speak about Flock is Jenna.
Yes,
Welcome.
that's me. Sorry for my handwriting. Hello. Hope everyone is staying warm this evening. Like everyone else, I want to thank you all for your decision to cancel the Flock contract. We really appreciate you listening to our concerns and taking them seriously. That means a lot. Like many others, I'm here tonight to make a comment because I saw on the news that Flock's chief counsel stated that he wanted to speak with you all. I don't know if he's done that, but I wanted to urge you in light of that possibility that there's no amount of self-imposed limitations that Flock can make that would make me as a Hillsborough resident feel comfortable with the system. Ultimately, Flock is a private company and they exist to make money, and public safety is not profitable. In addition to all these other privacy and security concerns that others have mentioned tonight, I know of no remedial options that we would have if Flock were to violate our privacy. And I think that's quite concerning. While we do purchase equipment from private companies like our comms units and our stretchers and our lights and our sirens, this, in my opinion, is materially different because of the ongoing access that they would have to private lives of our neighbors. And then given the AI component, we know that AI regularly misidentifies our Black and brown neighbors, and that is a major concern for me, that video footage of our neighbors could possibly be in a national database where they could be misidentified. So thank you again for your decision, and I just want to urge you all, no matter what Flock's legal team reassures you all about, just structurally, I take issue with this just conceptually. Their bottom line is profit. And our interest is to keep ourselves safe, and ultimately we have no real transparency with them and they're not accountable to us. And so that is my concern. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else here who has not signed up to talk about Flock? Okay, thank you. And on to number 3, agenda changes and improvement. Are there any changes?
Move to approve presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. There's a second. Second, Peggy. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on to number 4, we have a motion or a request to appoint Magnolia Brown to the Parks and Recreation Board for a term ending November 11th, 2028.
Move to approve.
Sir. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve is presented.
Kathleen?
Second.
Thank you, Megan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And on to item 6A, water extension to residential subdivision on NC 86 North. So I think the way we want to proceed tonight is to hear from staff first. And is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay, okay, just. Okay, thank you. And then, so we'll hear from staff, give the applicant a chance to add anything else to that. And then we'll have a discussion. And then if time is appropriate, we'll invite public comment on that, although we're not required, it is not a public hearing. And also I'm sure that Assistant Manager Matt Efer is going to frame the discussion that this is the scope of the town's interest is only in do we extend water or not. The merits of the development are not relevant to us in those regards, but our primary concern is the water allocation. Matt. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Mayor Bell laid out the basics of what I was going to talk about. This was teed up as a policy determination for you all. I'll rewind a bit. So when the comprehensive sustainability plan was adopted, there were recommendations for alterations to the urban service boundary for a variety of reasons. Utilities, compactness, urban sprawl limitation, things like that. Some of the background information of that time period that I just want to remind you all, we were in a period of time where we did not have a good grasp on utility system financial capacity or operational capacity. So in the time since the comprehensive sustainability plan was drafted, we have a much better understanding of the financial system. And we've completed the wastewater system master plan and are in progress of completing the water master plan. So all that said, there's been additional information. Last year, at your retreat, we had a long discussion about long-term viability of the utility system. And we included a number of recommended options to look at in terms of revenue generation. One of those items was, do we want to consider, where appropriate, seeking additional water-only customers? We have good capacity on the water side. We have excess to sell. We have the ability to get water from Durham or from Jordan Lake allocation. Out-of-town water customers pay higher rates, and so there are some financial considerations. In addition, as we've developed our understanding of the operations of the system, one of the areas that we're targeting for long-term improvement is the reduction of auto flushing. So I'll give you the layman's version. Bryant can explain if I mess something up. But basically, our water system is stretched out in many different directions. The longer it takes the water to make its way from the water plant to the end of the system, the less quality the water has at the end. And so we end up having to flush the ends of the system. Pathways Elementary is one extreme end of our system. And so the water that goes up there, about 20 to 30% of it ends up on the ground because it's not used, and we got to keep the water moving through the pipes. So in the background of those technical and financial observations, that's where this conversation started. Many months ago, we talked with this developer about their potential project. Identified early on that number one, we don't really have sewer capacity in this area, and not a good path forward. This is contiguous to town limits, but only via satellite, and so our limited satellite annexation capacity would be another big consideration towards providing service. And so at that time, town staff made a recommendation that they continue to pursue Orange County approval and not consider an annexation letter of interest to the town board. So fast forward to the last several months. The sequence of this was supposed to be, you all consider this question as an if the county approves this development, are you interested in offering water only service? So what's happened is we've gotten out of sequence. The public hearing at the Orange County Board of County Commissioners has happened. They did not take a vote. They've continued their item. And so what was an abstract policy question has now become a focused debate on a specific development. And that was not the intention. And so want to remind you all what the question before you is if there was a development that was currently in our urban service boundary, has not yet been removed, that is approved by Orange County, do you all want to pursue water only service? The last piece I'll add is, again, sequencing. Tonight, you were supposed to be considering an action item to formalize the reduction of the urban service boundary and provide some clear direction to staff on how to move forward. As we've gotten things out of sequence, we've had to kick that to the next meeting. And so I'll leave you with that. Our intent is to bring before you all on the November 24th meeting an action item that would provide staff with direction that for policy perspective, you all are considering the recommended urban service boundary to be what is in effect now, authorizing staff to engage the multiple interlocal agreements that have to be updated to affect that change and clarify our understanding of what that means. So we have existing customers that are outside of our current urban service boundary. We will have more customers that will be outside of our new urban service boundary. Staff is frequently getting pinged by development interests, small and large, on, there's water here, why can't I connect to it? And so one of the recommendations for you all to consider is a definition of what happens to those areas. So our recommendation will be that we not authorize any further extensions beyond the urban service boundary as defined, but that we allow a limited quantity of residential water hookups where there is already water service. So essentially replacing like for like. So that's the background information. Happy to answer any questions. Bryant is available if I gave you some technical information you need more background on, and I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Matt. So what I suggest we do first maybe is to go around the table and ask questions of Matt and Bryant, or if Matt wants to hand it over to Bryant, that's, that's fine too. This is, Brian's, area of expertise. So Kathleen, do you?
I just want, can you, if Matt could repeat just that one little bit. So when you were saying, about what to do with the customers outside of the urban services, you were saying, like for like, I'm not sure I'm following. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we have areas where we have historically had water service
Right.
that are no longer receiving, so we don't have customers, but there's still lines going. out
Oh,
there.
okay, gotcha.
And so there are places where folks have bought property and said, well, I used to have a meter out here, why can't I get a meter now? And it's because you're outside of the urban service boundary, and we're not clear on how strict we want to be on the interpretation of extension. And so that's why we want to clarify, no new extensions, but if you've got access to existing service, we'll allow some limited residential connections.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't clear what you were saying. That's my only question.
Rob?
So, Matt, are you referring to the recommended urban service boundary,
Yes.
or the existing?
This would be for the recommended urban service boundary. This will be part of that whole package that you all consider.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to understand the benefits, because it sounds like, you know, potentially there is some benefits with the flushing and then financially, but what does that look like 20 years from now? I mean, if we push water out that far, there's gonna be additional cost in maintaining those lines over the years, and how does that change the what, can you speak a little bit about the benefits, I guess, of the circulation, I guess, and then also, I guess, any financial benefits that you feel would be beneficial to the town?
Sure. So, wherever we have customers and active customers, we're committed to giving them high quality product and a consistent product. So that's doubly true here, obviously, because there's an elementary school that's served by this water, and there's also a charter school. It's a K through 12 school. So we certainly are very conscious of the quality of water that we're pushing out there. So right now, there's a flushing station in front of Pathways Elementary. If you drive by, you can actually see it. It's up at right behind the sidewalk. It's a big green box, and it dumps about 30 gallons a minute of water all the time into the ditch. That is on our side of the meter. In other words, it doesn't go through the meter. We don't bill for that water. That's water basically just, pouring into a ditch. Doing a quick bit of math, depending on your customer, depending on how big the home is, depending on the heavy irrigation, stuff like that. That's about 150 homes worth of water that we're just dumping in a ditch that we potentially could recoup as a cost or recoup as revenue from a developer that would be allowed to connect to the water system. The hope here would be, if we did choose to extend water to this property, and to kind of echo Matt's comment, it does not have to be this exact development. It would be instead, what we could also do next week is come back with a recommendation, a map to adopt that says, this is the map, and include this property for whatever development chooses to come in. We would have a second line that now feeds Pathways Elementary. So we would have we'd have a looped feed, which is always a good idea in water distribution, and also provides enhanced fire protection, because the more feeds we have, the more flow we can push out there, the better the fire protection. And then it would also, hopefully allow us to reduce a large percentage of that water that we're discharging by instead sending it basically through billable meters to paying customers.
Thank you. Those are really my only questions. I'm not really interested in extending our urban services boundary, but at the same time, if it's a benefit to our system in the bigger picture, it's worth noting. Thanks, Brian.
I don't think I had any technical questions, so I'll pass it on.
One of my questions was Rob had asked, kind of what's that cost benefit between how much are we flushing and how much will we increase in revenue? But I think from what you answered for Rob, that settles that, at least in my mind for now. I was wondering about the sewer. Is this area not like, is it the topography, or is it just like, is it, there's no route, or we have no capacity on that basin? Like, I know the developers are asking for annexation and stuff, but if they. Anyhow, is this like eventually, 20, 30 years from now, if that was to come up, is, I guess I just wasn't understanding, like, would we not be able to annex it because we wouldn't be able to ever do sewer, or is it just because of our capacity and it's 50 years down the road, we're gonna increase capacity or something, and.
So I'll answer your technical questions first, and then I might let Bob handle the viability of annexation without expanding sewer service. So, from a technical perspective, there are some sewer lines that front this property, but if you look at the GIS of it, there's a long skinny pole that basically goes toward, River Academy. That's one of the properties that actually touches the sewer, and it's probably gonna be too narrow to get a sewer line in there without some additional easement. This all drains to a pump station where we do have some capacity concerns. So we would have to, partner with the developer, obviously, as part of any kind of rezoning to require them to do downstream improvements to that pump station. And then that pumps to what is ultimately the river pump station. I think you all are very up to date on the status of our funding for that. So there were a lot of concerns about the sewer service from a technical and financial standpoint that we just don't have for the water. So I'll let Bob kind of handle the annexation and sewer.
I think with respect to annexation and sewer, it's a voluntary annexation. They're petitioning us for annexation. I think if we were to adopt a policy, if we don't already have one, about providing water service without providing sewer service under certain circumstances that might fit this case, then we would not have to, if we follow that policy, we could not be forced to provide sanitary sewer service to the subdivision.
I think my question is like way out in the future, this is
My
not
guess.
really tonight, but. Thanks, I think that, answers that, we can adopt a policy to cover anything like that.
Because our obligation, first of all, the obligations to provide services are different for different situations. And this situation really doesn't fall in any of the one categories that I've seen that would require the extension of service. It has to do with socioeconomic impacts and things like that. So I'm pretty comfortable that it's not, first of all, it's not likely, but secondly, that if we do our jobs well, we'd adopt a policy and wouldn't be obligated, because you have to provide services consistent with your policy. If the policy is not to provide it, then you don't have to provide it.
I think that's my question.
Yeah, no questions. Evelyn, do you have any questions for Brian or Matt?
No, I followed it from the beginning.
Thank you. Thank you. So if the applicant is here and would like to come up and add anything or explain anything to us, that'd be great.
Mayor and board members, my name is Beth Trejos. I'm an attorney with Fox Rothschild, and I'm here on behalf of Four Star to request the ability to connect to water lines in this area. And if it's okay, I have a little handout that is actually based on some information that we got from your engineering staff that shows the existing water lines in this area. As well as our subject property. I think the information provided by your staff was entirely accurate. But just to add a little additional color, and explain how we got where we are right now. Originally, Four Star came to the town to ask, whether this property could be annexed into the town. And we got the feedback that you heard from town staff that said, well, from a sewer perspective, there were lots of issues, and so they would prefer that we move forward with Orange County. And so Four Star proceeded to do that. We're, in the rezoning process with the county. And as a part of the comments that we received, county staff sends applications to the town for the town to offer comments. And the town said, well, we might be willing to extend water. And so although there is a well that Four Star has drilled and studied and found that there is sufficient water capacity to serve the area, Some neighbors have concerns about the impact of a new well. And so a condition was offered, to our zoning case, really, after discussions with the planning board, who ultimately unanimously recommended approval of our rezoning, to add a condition that said, essentially, well, we'll ask the town to allow us to connect to the water lines that are already in close proximity to the site. And if they allow us to do that and we can get the easements to get the water lines to the property directly, then we'll use, town water. Four Star, I think, has had some conversations with your staff and had a willingness to, install the additional infrastructure that's necessary to create a loop. I'm not an engineer, so I can't give you all the details about that, but we understand that to be a benefit. In addition, you know, the residents here would pay the outside of town rate for your service, and hopefully reduce the amount of water that you were you know, just having to dump out in this area, and make good use of it. And I realize I didn't really explain to you this map. The blue or the dark blue are the water lines. The light blue is 86. This sort of big building here is Eno River Academy. Pathways is up here. And this is the subject property that is in for rezoning Orange County. And this is Donna Crowder.
Hi, Donna Crowder, 4 Star. I just wanna, so I made this. The dark blue is the existing water service it surrounds the property on 3 sides. What we're proposing to do is put a 4th layer in, which would provide loop, which would ease up the pressure and create movement in the water line, which would probably help you with your flushing issue. But the light blue line here is what we are proposing to install. That would be the new, it's running up 86. That would be the new system that we would be installing and dedicating to the town, that would create that loop. And this map, I couldn't connect that loop up at the top, but this is a 12-inch water line, and this is a 12-inch water line, and the ones below are 8-inch. So there's lots of capacity up there in your pipes. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that was great. Thank you for clarifying that. And we noticed that in the interlocal agreement, that water and sewer management agreement with Orange County and Watts, Chapel Hill and Carrboro, that we are within the primary service area as it exists today on that map. So essentially, we're here to ask you to allow us to connect to your water, and you know, our team will answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. So I think what I'd like to do is go around the table and offer the commissioners a chance to ask you questions. And I'll just kind of set the table to say that there has been very little interest in Hillsborough extending services in that area. In fact, we're about to withdraw our boundary for a variety of reasons. So it's this is an about face to what we have been intending and talking about and preaching about for quite a while. So that's the nature of kind of the, wait, what are we doing? This is the opposite of what we were talking about doing kind of situation. So I will go around the table and let commissioners ask you questions. So Kathleen, we start with you.
Just in the entrance of full information, and first of all, I second, you know, what we have been looking at restricting urban services boundary. But for your now that information, if there is no water service, where will you get your water, and how will that impact the wells of the you know, the surrounding properties and contiguous properties?
So we would, if we're not allowed to connect to Hillsborough Water, we would use a well which is existing today. It was permitted by Orange County and dug on the site. So there's a process that the county goes through in permitting the well. And then we also hired a consultant to study the capacity of the well and to study an adjacent well to confirm that you know, that this would function well and not have impacts on our are few neighbors who do have wells. There
How
is,
deep is that well? Does it go into the aquifer? Or is it surface still?
so we did,
It's, yes, sorry, yes, it does. It's 600 feet deep. We did extensive studies on our well. We knew we had the capacity to service 49 homes off of this community well that was drilled a year ago. And so we know we had the capacity, but what we were concerned about is there were a few neighbors, maybe 3 or 4 neighbors around us that had wells. And we were concerned that if we drew down on the well, that it would affect their well levels. So we put sonar equipment on 2 wells, the closest wells to us, one a deeper well and one a shallower well. And we drew down the water to 4 times the amount that would have been used at any given period of time for a period of 24 hours. We measured the levels of the well 2 weeks beforehand to get whatever steady use was, ambient use was. And then we drew it down for 24 hours, 4 times the capacity, 4 times the expected use if everybody in the neighborhood turned on their water all at the same time, 24 hours. And during that time, we monitored the wells to see what their water levels would be. Their water levels did not change. We also monitored them a week afterwards to make sure it wasn't a delayed effect. It was not. It does not affect the other wells. So our well, and you know, these rules are set about by DEQ and federal government on how to study this kind of thing. And believe me, we've spent a lot of money to make sure that that well would not affect our neighbors, because we did not want to get in a situation where after the fact that could happen. We have a water source on our property that we did simply because we were told by Hillsborough that you would not service us. So we were fine with using the community well. Orange County would rather us use your water. And mainly because I think they want to protect their residents in case something crazy happens. But most of these wells are actually on already abutting your existing lines. So their properties actually could be serviced by Orange County by nature of it already being on the property line. So I just want to point that out as something that we have spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of consultants and to make sure that this property will work. We're doing a conservation subdivision. We have half the properties open space that will never be developed. We've offered that our internal trail systems to Eno River Academy so they can continue using the track. We want this to be a community that this area will enjoy, that we're creating a sense of community. And that's the nature of the subdivision, but we would really appreciate it. And I think it would be beneficial to Hillsborough to let us tie to it, if only to create that loop system that'll be a back feed to Pathways. Because if you lose that one water service that comes up here, Pathways out of water. They don't have any back feeds. So if that goes down, Pathways out of water, if we connect up there, you've got 2 sources of water going to that. I think it would greatly benefit Hillsborough, but that's my opinion and I'll let you finish that.
No, that was excellent. Thank you. No, I mean, I am still, if this were commercial, I'd be all over it. But, I'm still for drawing in our urban services boundary. I do believe that is in the long run what is best for the community. I see advantages for this. that long term in terms of what we are trying to achieve, this isn't consistent.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do you have any other questions?
Not at the moment. If I hear something else that I may, but not right now.
Good. Thank you. Ron?
So quick question for Brian, is this where you would see that extension if, similar to their map, is that where you would envision that?
Well, yes, actually, this map, I sent them the orange arrows I drew because I go for an orange and blue color scheme. The orange arrows I drew, but the light blue is actually the line that they drew. So this is actually more significant than what I told them they had to do. So they've actually added lines that I didn't say would be required. I do want to clarify though, that Pathways is already looped. So that is a loop that's already there, but this would provide, that was just to show up in the clip that I sent you, but it is looped. This would just provide an additional redundant feed on that front.
Okay, cause I did, remember, I thought that Pathways already had that loop passing too, okay. So if you build this development, is there, this is totally, actually, I don't have to ask this question. I'm really just curious if individuals be able to walk to Pathways from this development. You talked about some interconnected.
So, what we,
Don't even answer it, it's totally not part of this discussion.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it seems to me that the water flushing, appeal is, incidental in the larger picture. Because we don't want to encourage growth north of town, and I understand the county has purview to, approve this kind of development in the county. And that is their purview, but that, if the county is looking at your application favorable, if we will get water, that's a little tricky. But I'm not seeing that, that is in the long-term, benefit of the town, but I don't get to vote on this. The mayor only breaks the tie. So, that is just, my opinion, if I'm going to break a tie. Meg?
No, I don't have any questions right now. Thank you.
Rob or Matt?
Yeah, I have actually two questions. The first is just kind of the sequencing, because I think this is kind of odd how we're handling it. Of course, the Board of County Commissioners didn't decide anything last week, but if they had, you would have come before us with a rezoning approval and asking if we'd extend water service, but shouldn't it have been the other way around?
Well, what we had imagined was that, an issue was raised, the town mentioned this was an option, is this something that's achievable? And we said, in our conditions, we said, we'll go to the town and ask, and if they say yes, we will use public water. And so what we had envisioned was the county would make a decision on the rezoning case, and then, we would come to you and ask, and you would say yes or no, and then we would either move forward with, your utilities, or we would move forward with our existing plan, for a community well. So that's how we had envisioned things going, but the county said, well, gosh, that's interesting, we'd like to know, so go and ask.
It sounds like a pretty important piece of information if I were them, that I'd want to know as I'm considering it.
Well, they wanna know.
And then also, can you help me understand the septic situation? Because my understanding is that these are going to be fairly small lots, in my opinion, with what's also, in my opinion, fairly large homes. And so if the septic systems fail at some point, hopefully I'm long out of public service by then, that the town is going to be looked at to then offer sewer service. So.
Well, so
I know you're putting a lot of this land in preservation, but is the rest of the land just not favorable to development? I mean, what's shading that decision.
So, I guess we'll tag team on this. And so, but, when Four Star went to the county, after they had been to the town, they went to the county and, they had a lot by lot, a traditional proposal. And county planning staff said, well, actually, you know, what we're hearing from the commissioners is that they want the cluster. You do the cluster, which does allow you to preserve environmentally sensitive areas, but also usable open space. You know, as land that will be owned by a homeowners association and protected. It allows for smaller lots. And so that's what Four Star brought forward. They brought forward the cluster plan that was recommended by the planning staff. The lots are, the zoning requirement for the lots is that they be at least 20,000 square feet. The acreage, 49 homes on the property nets out to be about one home every 1.6 acres. So it is, I mean, in my view, not an intensely developed property, but there are small lots. It brings the homes closer together. It serves that purpose of conserving area that can be used for trails for the community, that can continue to benefit the Eno River Academy that is adjacent. Their cross-country team currently runs on this property. The property owner has allowed them free use of the site. And this would continue to allow that in a more structured format. So that's sort of how the design came together. Donna, would you add something to that?
Yeah, so, we have obviously a consultant, a septic specialist. 20,000 square foot lots are used all over this state with septic systems on them. We cannot put a septic system in without it being permitted, DEQ rules, and we have to provide a repair field. And so in the process of doing our engineering, which we've done way more engineering than most people do before we get to this point, we laid out the most difficult lots and the smallest lots, and we put a house print on there, and we put where we would put the septic lines and also the repair fields. So, and I learned something new that I didn't know about septic the other night, was that the repair fields are actually a temporary measure, and you just change the flow over the repair fields, and then you fix your repair fields, and then you switch it back. So the idea there would be, and I think this is anywhere in the county, anywhere in the state, there is a chance, and there, I guess it has happened, that both the repair field and the septic and everything goes bad, but that's the risk of any septic lot that you would have. I will say that our engineer has an EOP. He is a registered EOP, so he permits it. And the septic study, the soil study that we had the best soils you could have, the deepest and best soils that you can have. So the only reason that we aren't spread out farther is to conserve the open space, because that's what the county wants to see. They want to see the open space, because that way people can't tear down the trees. They can't go in there and mess with the wetlands, which they can, if they've got a 20,000 square foot lot and they've got wetlands on it, and they're not disturbing more than 1/10 of an acre, they can go in there without notification to anybody and rip out the wetlands. Not only that, we are also providing a constructed wetlands for stormwater runoff. So that we're gonna put it between two existing wetlands and hope it'll grow together and make more wetland. So we're trying to conserve the integrity of the natural areas, and that's why the lots are smaller.
But the density is still county density.
Yes.
So.
Thank you, Matt. Evelyn, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, but I have dealt with many sewer problems in Netherland, Cheeks area, Carrboro, Northern Fairview. In my many years on the town board, I am, served 10 years on the health board. We dealt 10 years with overflowing septic tanks, no matter what you say. Hillsborough, and to my second point would be, our vision is to go south, not north. And I'm not supposed to get into why I don't want you to go north, but I don't want to extend water north.
Thank you, Evan. Okay. So I'm gonna do a quick temperature check of the board. Kathleen, you've expressed yourself. Rob, what are your general thoughts?
My general thoughts are, I'm not interested in extending water, or, to this existing property or anything north of what we currently have, and I want to shrink the, urban services boundary, stick to that point.
Thank you. Megan?
Yeah, I also want to stick to the plan of, you know, there's been so much discussion about why to shrink the urban services boundary. And, this just goes in the opposite direction of that plan, so.
Thank you, Matt.
Ditto. Do not support extending water service.
Okay, Evan?
Am I for the water service?
Do you, would you?
No,
Thank you.
not for, no.
Okay.
Already. Having my problems.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's a unanimous decision or feeling that it should not go forward because it's not a keeping with what our express plans have
So
been.
the question is, do you need a motion or is it
I
just?
think we need a motion.
Then I move to not extend water and to continue our plan of pulling in the urban services boundary.
Second.
Was that this rule? And that was you, second, okay. Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hot topics for next week.
Strat plan update, urban services boundary approval, manager evaluation. That's what we've got so far.
And I'm gonna add something. Which is the commit to civility. If y'all remember that after coming back from NARC and hearing hearing several things, I just think it's more important than ever that we formalize what we already are committed to and what we do. And what this would entail is 75% of our board attending a 2-hour on-demand training. The course is free. Second, that each of us would sign an individual pledge. Third, that the town itself adopting a commit to civility resolution at a meeting. And fourth, the signed resolution and the pledge form submitted to NCLM.
Okay, thank you. So is this something you'd like to add to the agenda?
Yes.
To discuss, or you're looking for action?
Well, if we wanted to act and say yes now, I would be thrilled. But I had assumed folks may want to discuss it. If so, then adding to hot topics.
Okay, thank you.
So will you provide whatever's needed to get that on the agenda?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
I've got the.
Thank
I
you.
come prepared.
Thank you. Kathleen, you can just send that stuff to me when you're ready and I'll.
Okay.
You get that crafted. Okay, and this is not a hot topic for the next meeting, but I just want to put it on everybody's radar. I've been researching, connectivity in Hillsborough and walkability. And I have gone through, numerous boxes of documents going back to the 1980s. About our greenways, our trails, river walks, parks, just how it all kind of unfolded. And I would like to share that with the town board because it's fascinating. Some of the things I learned along the way. And and I would like to think about in the future, next year, not now. But having some type of, town recognition of our connectivity and walkability. It's such an important part to Hillsborough, and I think it'd be good to kind of celebrate that and honor that every year too.
When I
So-
moved here,
But no hurry on this.
when I moved here in 2001, I remember Margaret having discussion with the landowners. She had tripped to
Oh.
Virginia.
For the Riverwalk acquisition,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, updates. Evelyn, do you, actually, hang on, I have a plan. Evelyn, do you have any, updates from the, fire department? Or the police department?
We meet on the 19th,
Of this month?
I think that's correct, so Tuesday.
Great, thank you. So going in reverse order, starting, so Megan, you did not have Upper New Sprague River Basin, is that correct?
No, that's on the 19th. Do you want me to do the tourism?
Oh, I'm going in reverse
Okay,
order, so
sorry.
next will be solid waste. Would you like to? talk about
Oh,
solid-
solid waste, yes. So.
Because we did have a,
Yes, we did have the solid waste meeting last week. We had, heard about. Oh gosh, you have to correct me, new canisters that will be placed, I think right now down at the farmer's market to, it's like a trial for composting. And they've got a couple of these bins they're gonna set out throughout the county and try them out in certain locations, find the best location for it, I think. A lot of people have already take some compost down to the farmer's market, so. I'm gonna place my bets that might be our best location, but anyhow, you should start to see that, that was one of the big takeaways from the meeting that
Can I ask a question about swag? So I know Chapel Hill got rid of their loose leaf pickup and they went to like carts for that. Is there any?
there's no discussion on it.
What?
yeah, I just know it's controversial because I got asked about it one of my.
So Town of Chapel Hill decided to discontinue their loose leaf pickup as of a couple of months ago. And so all the residents now have to put their, what used to just be the break it to the curb and, vacuum truck will come by into a cart. That goes out there and then empties it, but I'm just curious down the road if there's, yeah.
I had not heard if it was an expense thing, with the trucks or what the reason.
So my understanding is, yeah, their truck was kind of reaching its useful life and, they had to make decisions whether to invest in continuing that or go in a different direction. They chose to go in a different direction, but I'm just curious how that's playing out.
It did not come up in slide.
That it?
Oh, well, I did have tourism also.
Hang on,
Never mind.
hold that thought. Kathleen, it looks like the partnership, did not meet and that you're meeting tomorrow with the Affordable Housing Collaborative, is that correct? So you don't have reports on either of those?
No, the collaborative isn't meeting. Our meeting that was supposed to be, we didn't meet last week. Partnership is always after our meeting.
Thank you.
So, no,
And,
it'll be next week.
and Rob, you did not have an intergovernmental parks or fund?
They did now, they canceled that last week.
And Matt, you did have the Orange Care Coalition?
Yeah, so we heard mostly from the Orange Partnership for Young Children, and just how they're trying to get more slots or more kids in slots that are available. Unfortunately, transportation. I used to be the chair of the board, so I was very well versed in some of the issues, but transportation being one of the biggest ones, though. A lot of families who would be impacted by the shutdown would fall into the category of folks served by the partnership and statewide and across the country. That's been really hard for the families that receive child care subsidies to enable attendance of these early childhood education centers. And then also Department of Social Services did promote Toys for Tots, including areas around the community that is a drop-off site, but You might wanna reach out to them, chief, because I know we normally have a drop-off site at the police department, but I didn't see them. Orange DSS did not have them listed on their website.
We usually, they do their own separate from us, but we do
Okay.
ours at the fire department.
Okay.
But you'll see something soon.
Okay, because neither were listed as like potential drop-off sites, so,
I'll talk to, Foster, yeah, we'll get it worked out.
yeah, that'd be great.
And Matt, I skipped over, Triangle West.
Yeah, so for the TPO, we had a twofer, back to back, Mayor Bell. Couldn't make our normal date, which is October 28th. Most of what we approved everything that was on the agenda, fortunately, but two big things was approving the 2055 Metro Transit transportation plan, and as well as the strategic rail infrastructure study, which obviously really benefits Hillsborough with the upcoming train station. And then we also put together a nomination committee for next year's slate of officers. So I know Marilyn Carter, though she's an alternate, is going to be one of the folks. The chair, Karen Howard, will be on that committee. There was some conversation about who from Durham, so that was going to be TBD as to who that person would be. But we had two of the three slots worked out between the city and the county. They were going to figure out which of those folks were going to represent Durham to pull together a slate for us. And then the next day we had Campo, our joint meeting with Campo, so great.
And I'll just cover that very quickly. So that is the, I think we meet 2 or 4 times a year, the Triangle West TPO and the Capital Area MPO, Wake County and others. So we had an update on our Destination 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Talked about a Triangle Bikeway project, opportunity, place, land use with more mixed use and walkable areas, increased funding for active transportation. And then we also had a very brief update on the Triangle, the joint rail infrastructure subcommittee that we talked about, or I reported out on, I think, last month as well. We just reviewed the timeline and the policy priorities, and then also a preferred scenario for the rail infrastructure project. It was a very, very short meeting. It was probably less than 40 minutes, which is really unusual.
I think more people spent time driving there and back home than 3 minutes.
Okay, Megan, you didn't have TDA, correct?
No TDA, the tourism board met. We had the first quarter updates from all of our partners. Fortunately, we hear that the Burwell had some issues in the first quarter with the HVAC.
Yes,
Yeah.
very hot.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for them. But I just wanna highlight the museum and the third provincial conference that they put on. It definitely was their biggest feat. They should be very proud of what they did here in Hillsborough for that event.
Thank you. And visitors bureau, man.
Well, I was not at the last, oh, no, we don't meet until, I missed the October 1, because of work, but we don't meet again until later this month, so next Wednesday, I believe.
No meeting in December, correct?
And I don't believe we have a meeting in December.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it for committee assignments?
No. Triangle, Central Pines. So the housing subcommittee, we are meeting tomorrow. I'm going to be looking more at the data that's already housed within the COG to see what we really need to augment. Again, all of the game is to having a regional housing layout of where it's existing affordable housing is, where the zoning allows for it, where the existing policy strategies in place. bringing that together as part of the overall comprehensive regional plan of 2050. And yes, I'm still going, the MPOs and COGS need to be right hand, left hand, welcome to one another. And then, in addition to that, I was approached by Gateway Apartments. If y'all remember that when they, I think it was what was it called? I can't remember, but the group came to the board for the bonds and promised on how they, we love their property, whatever, blah, 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 blah. They still have mold issues and they want to have landscaping because like there's no mulch for the play areas, things like that. So Will Elmore, if y'all know Will Elmore, is a landscaping company and wants very much to do the work. They need to raise about $30,000 for that. So something that the town can't do, it's private property. But I know that we had to approve that bond. I don't think there's anything we still can do about those apartments, but I'm asking Bob, is there anything we can do to facilitate the fact that they still have mold? They are not getting repairs. They don't have the.
I don't know that there's anything in the bonds that would allow us to intervene in that way. So I'm just not sure.
I suspect it probably not, but I wanted to at least raise it because it's just infuriates me that the residents there continue to have to fight for basic human right of a healthy, safe place to live. That our community dollars are helping support, it is just wrong. And the fact that they did come to our board. If there's anything we can do, and I know I don't have any expectation. But I wanted to raise to this board, yes.
Well, I would just say, back in September, occasionally I just walk that part of Hillsborough and often walk through, Gateway, when I do it. I noticed that there were boarded up windows.
Yep.
As well as, window AC units.
Yep.
I lived there in the early 2000s. I know there's ostensibly supposed to be, heating and air conditioning that does not require, window units. I
Exactly.
did send it over to, especially the boarded up windows part. That to me tells me something about units being habitable or not. Shannon did relay those to Orange County Housing, as a building code issue.
Yeah, I've reached out to housing, but if there's. I know there were issues before, we were having our hands tied. But I think that it's just something I think we need to stand for. This is an important part of our community. And it is just wrong. And if I could hunt down those owners. It'd be worth a trip. And on the reentry council, we are reconstituting that. We'll be back on it, but at the moment, we're still reconstituting.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. So I have climate council on Thursday, and then Parks and Recreation will be next.
Did you have another?
Well, yeah, and that was just because we had folks here about Flock. I do think it's, I want to thank y'all for sticking it out. This is a short meeting for us. But I think I want to speak for myself, and I think there's others who agree. I know there are others who agree that we wouldn't be looking to pivot to another technology solution. So that's number one. Number two, we've not been pressured by Flock. We've got a letter from them, from their head of litigation, which I think is one of the gentlemen that were mentioned tonight. I did see his interview with CBS 17. Ironically enough, has not returned Bob's phone calls.
We got together, we actually have a call scheduled at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon.
Wonderful. I guess he's done giving his TV
Yeah,
interviews.
exactly.
But I think y'all deserve to know that part. But since we terminated the contract, other than the letter that we got, we hadn't had any conversation with, so just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Any other personal updates or comments before we move on?
Oh, yeah.
Mention, say thank you to the town of Hillsborough, the Hillsborough Police Department, communications and the safety department. They were able to help out Port Hillsborough with the distribution this last Saturday where, served 500 pounds of pork, 500 dozen eggs and non-perishables for 461 families.
I've
So-
got some food for you too. I brought some.
Thanks, great help from the team here, from the staff and everything to get the word out, make sure we were safe and, really added a lot of support and help with calling that out. So, thank you.
I have one other thing, it's just
Yes,
with the
yeah.
Fairview and just the update on the DEQ dump, and my takeaway was actually no more information from past meetings, so just background, I've, during Dad's recent, I missed meetings, but I've been attending them since they started coming, it's like 2016, 2017-ish. It's been that long. It's like the borings and things like that, they presented all of that originally to the community, but still waiting. I am concerned about the clear cutting of the trees. For the capping program, to do that, they would remove all of the trees to bring in a foot of dirt and then keep it clear.
It's like 15 acres or 16 acres that we cleared down.
Yeah, it's pretty,
That's big.
no, it was 21 acres.
Okay.
21 acres. That is, I find that very disturbing. I know other areas that turn into parkland. And if it were turned into ball fields like they do in Charlotte and some other areas. Okay, but I didn't hear to that, so that remains a concern.
Thank you. I only have one update, and that is, I want to thank all the participants at Government 101. We did the final session last week or the week before, gosh. Since we met last, and it was very nice, a really engaged group of citizens who came out for that, so congratulations to them. And to staff for putting on such a great thing. JC, you did a great job.
Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing.
Yes.
Mental health first aid. So I just got recertified. And if y'all have not done that, I do highly encourage it. They have changed the curriculum since the last time that I did it. So this time there's not the role playing that we used to have, if you've ever been through it, but it covers more material. Still very worthwhile.
Good, thank you. And that was an all-day course or 2-day? course?
This time they split it into 2 days, but normally it's a 8-hour course.
Okay, town manager, anything to add? No updates. Yeah, thank you. And staff reports are in the packet. Anything else for the good of the board? Your motion to adjourn? So,
Second.
thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kathleen. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Have a good night.